Does it mean to sign in? No, it should be working. Okay, let's go here. Live. I need my Instagram fam to get in here. All right. Checking the connection. Hey, we should adjust that a little bit. There we go. I think we're live. Yep, it seems to be. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. It is FriYAY. I love that button. Very rarely do I get to use that button. It's just there's not a lot of party going on. But yeah, it is FriYAY, and I'm excited to be here. I'm also excited not to be here tomorrow. It's nothing personal. I just like spending time with my family. You know, it's one of those things. The weekend, you know, that time to relax and refresh, absolutely an awesome thing. Just want to make sure that my yeah, that's all there. We got a couple messages waiting. What did I just check? That was Volley. Volley app is a great app. It is our little space where you can join, ask questions, have discussions. There's a small group of us, about 132 so far. You can join by going to trafficcop.ca and click the button that says Ask Me a Question on Volley. It'll bring you into the app with an invite from me, and that will allow you to just converse. You can send me video, voice, or text. It's awesome. You should try it. That was my pitch. What do you think? I hope I gave a reasonable explanation as to what it is. But ask. If you want more information, ask. What am I doing right now? I'm buying time so I can pull up a website that I didn't pull up before. It's that Twitter website. And why am I pulling it up? It's because I want to tell you our Vision Zero enforcement team is today. They go out Monday to Friday. No, all day, all the time. They're there. There are officers doing traffic enforcement all the time, but Monday to Friday we announce specifically where they are. And that is because they focus on different areas of the city each and every day. Well, why? What are they looking for? They're looking for the big four. The big four are speeders, aggressive drivers, distracted drivers, impaired drivers. They're looking for people who are behaving in a way behind the wheel of a motor vehicle that are known to lead to serious injury and death on our roads. So they are working diligently to change driver behavior. Now, how do you do that? Well, yeah, you give them tickets. That's how we educate through enforcement. You see, what I'm doing right here talking to you is trying to get you to get more information, to have all your questions answered so you make good decisions when you're driving. But the people who are out there and choosing to engage in that behavior, regardless of what they may or may not know, well, it's past the point of the opportunity to teach first. It's teaching through the wonderful world of tickets in court and all that jazz. If you want to avoid it, just don't break the law. People get really upset about breaking the law. Anyway, about getting caught for breaking the law. So being the 6th of January, FriYAY, where are these fine officers today? Well, they can be found in 22 Division and 51 Division. That's the neighborhoods of the Etobicoke West Mall, Queensway, St. Jamestown, Cabbagetown, Riverdale, Church and Yonge areas. These are areas of the city where real people live and work and play, and they want to be safe when they do it. They deserve to be safe. They have a right to be safe. So please, drive carefully, drive lawfully, and don't hurt anybody, because your day is never supposed to include hurting anybody. So don't start today. We have Big Jeff Fresh coming in from YouTube. We have Jacob with a happy Friday. We have Lloyd coming in from Instagram. We have a Killer Draconis coming in from YouTube with greetings and salutations. And, Jacob says 51 Division is his home division. He's giving a shout out to Chris Kirkpatrick. Let's see here. Dylan coming in, and he's got a question, but we'll get to that in a second. If you have a question, this is the place to get it answered. How do you do that? Well, you go into the Q&A functionality, whether it be on TikTok, Instagram, see I pointed to the different cameras, or over there, you can talk to us on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook. And if you're on Twitter, I apologize in advance, you can't actually send us messages. It just doesn't work. If you do, we won't see it because it doesn't work. It's broken. I don't know for how long. I'm still complaining about it. But if you want to ask us questions, jump onto any one of the other platforms we have. We will happily talk to you there. Now, let's jump into TikTok's Q&A because there's stuff to see and do here. What do we have here? Neha says, good morning. Q says, we're Gucci. I haven't heard Gucci in a while. Jonathan Sharp. This is an interesting question we've never, ever had. Is Rookie Blues 15th Division real? 15 Division doesn't exist. I believe that was 55 Division with a sign in front of it. It may have actually been an entirely fictitious location that just resembles 55. Is it 55? Not 55. 51. I think it was done in 51 Division. Then Movie Magic changed it into 50. But if anybody knows the actual answer to this, please let me know. I just know that we don't have a 15 Division. Okay. We got, just throw it up on screen, and then we have, what am I doing? I'm going through the Q&A functionality to find your questions so we can answer them. Let's go to Dylan's. Hang on a second. How does someone go? Okay. Dylan wants to know how you go about getting a job in the CRU, the crew, the Community Response Unit, what kind of education you need, and is it something you have to work up to in the ranks before you can start it? So right now, I don't think we really have crew units active. We have neighborhood officers. We have different programs in each division. But becoming a police officer is the starting point, and you can do that by going to www.tps.ca/careers. That is to get all the information you need to know to become a member of the service, whether it be as a civilian, as a police officer. All the jobs are posted there, and we are hiring police officers as well as many other positions. So if you have an interest in working for the best place on earth, then you should be checking out the website. You can talk to a recruiter. One of them was in the office today because he wants to be on the podcast. And we've got people lining up. Lineup starts there. You want to be on the podcast? Come let us know. Which actually brings me to the concept or question or statement or whatever. I'm going to just say it. If you know somebody who is in the industry or in the game of public safety when it comes to traffic safety, if you think that their messaging needs to be on our show, that we should be talking to them and delivering that information to you, well, let us know. You can send an email to trafficsafetyprograms@torontopolice.on.ca, and then you can come in and we'll talk to them. We'll find out what's more. We'll see if we can get them on the show, on the podcast, on the thing. Dylan says Dylan wants to know about not the CRU, but the Collision Reconstruction Unit. That we can spend more time discussing very briefly, and that is collision and reconstruction, the recon unit. So you have to be at traffic services. You have to have gone through training and get some experience as a traffic officer first, and then you can get into a specialty. Generally speaking, when you become a traffic officer, there are two paths of progression. At least in the olden days, you would either become a breath tech or you become a recon. And there's a great deal of education involved. You even have to do some, aside from the training, you actually have to do, articling? You have to be, there's some level of I think it's a 1-year program. It's very intensive. They do a lot of work. I am not one of them, but maybe we should have a discussion with them sometime soon. Hang on one second. I had to lean to get water. I think my tea's still too hot to drink. All right. Let's get into some questions that are questions other than the questions we've already discussed. What's the police hierarchy and what is a deputy? That's an interesting question. Not a traffic one, but we'll go for it and we'll move back into traffic stuff. So rank structure is what you're asking about. We have police constables, which is the lowest rank. I'm a police constable. Then there's the first level of management. It's sergeant. Above sergeant is staff sergeant. Then you have an inspector. There's sometimes staff inspectors, superintendents, sometimes staff superintendents, and then deputy chief and chief. That's the entire rank structure in a nutshell. And a deputy, if you're talking about sheriff's deputies in the United States, that's more or less the same as being a police constable. They have sheriffs and deputies in certain jurisdictions. We don't. Police constables, there are no deputy police constables. Okay. Let's move it along and see what we can get here. And by the way, if you are somewhere, let me know where you're from. I'm always interested to know where you're watching from. Throw it into the comments. You know, you can put it in the Q&A, you can put it in the comments, whatever you like. But I'm curious to know where you're all from. And of course, if you don't already follow us, please do. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I answer traffic and police questions Monday to Friday from 10 to 11. It's this thing that I do, and we're having a good time doing it. We are, reaching new people throughout the world. We're not just talking to people in Ontario, which is where the focus of our discussion is usually lands, but we talk to people from around the world. In fact, I recently got an email from my friends from On Air Coach who are based in Ireland saying they were speaking at a college, and guess what? They knew me. The students at the university or college that they were speaking to knew the TikTok traffic cop Sean Shapiro because they saw me on TikTok. Amazing. It's because they were talking about me for an entirely different reason. It's because I placed third in a worldwide competition for radio talent called Radio Star 2022. So I ended up in third place for that. It was pretty cool. Now, I got a volley notification. Let's see what's going on in volley world. Hang on. We have a message from Richard popped up, but that's a personal one, so I'll leave it till later. What do we have? We have Jace. Jay says, since speed limits are supposed to be the maximum speed in good conditions, is there a ticket for going a ticket for too fast in the conditions, like they're doing the speed limit, but it's a blizzard. So, Jace, the answer to your question is if someone was driving at a speed that was unsafe for the conditions, careless driving could be the appropriate charge. It wouldn't be speeding because it's not specific to speed. It's because you're driving well above what's safe. It's careless. So that could be a way to go. And let's see here. Was that a question from last week or yesterday? Trevor Malian, apparently I missed this message from 14 hours ago. So, Trevor, if you're watching, my apologies. Let me give you a little thumbs up there so you get notified that I saw it. Good morning. I was just watching my local news broadcast and saw the part on the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. One of the items that showed was an electric rollerblade. My question is, would this be able to be used in Toronto? Electric rollerblades, news to me. No, that would be technically a motor vehicle strapped to your feet. I don't know. See, we don't allow electric kick scooters. Electric skates? I think they'd be a problem, but I'd have to do some research to see what we could classify it as. Because even rollerblading and roller skates aren't really meant for the road. So technically, no. But we'll talk about it more. I love the question. Thank you for bringing it up. And, Richard says, good morning from Cold Thunder Bay. And I see that Chase is about to send a message, so I am going to keep on moving, and we'll come back to Chase in a second. Again, they're sending me messages on Volley. Volley can be found by going to www.trafficcop.ca. That is the website that takes you to my link tree. On my link tree, there's a button, and one of them says, ask me a question on Volley, and that's how you do it. Stephen says, good morning and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, too. Happy New Year to everybody. It really is. It's 2023. What an amazing time to be here on social media talking to you. I mean, it could be 2022, but it's not. It's 2023. That makes no sense. Okay, we have here. Oh, we got. Okay, we'll play here. We'll play here the Chase message.
So Elon said that Teslas are getting an update this month, that once they've reached 10,000 miles with the full self-driving beta, they won't have to touch the steering wheel or nag the steering wheel while it's engaged. So will that be legal in Ontario as long as the driver's watching the road? Or is that going to be careless and they don't touch the wheel?
Okay, I'm not aware of this news, so I'll take you for what you're saying is accurate, but I haven't read about it. But I can tell you that if you don't have to touch the wheel, that takes a level 3 vehicle and turns it to a level 4 autonomous vehicle, which is not permitted in Ontario without a permit. It has to be a permit for testing. It is not something that you as a Tesla owner can activate. It would be illegal, and you would be charged and all sorts of problems. You have to have $5 million coverage. For a Tesla, you can't carry more than 10 or 12 passengers, which would be the requirement to get $7 million of insurance. But yes, Tesla, if you do this, don't do it in Ontario because it would be illegal. We are not approved for general use of level 4. That's the story. Level 5 is when the passenger when no one is sitting in the driver's seat at all. Level 4 is when you're in the driver's seat and can take over. Level 3 is when it's doing some self-driving, but you're there and you have to regularly check in with the steering wheel. So level 3 is legal in Ontario. Level 4 is not. Thank you for the question. That's an amazing one. Always like the new stuff, new questions that we've never had before. And now you have a new piece of homework to research. Can you lay charges from speeding video? Yes and no. Depends if there have to be elements in that video that allow us to get everything we need to lay charges. But if it was somebody who was identifiable as a driver, if it was somebody who if we could identify and put them in a particular place, date and time, as well as identity of the driver, then absolutely we could lay charges if we had all the elements of the offense captured. What is this? Is there a law about headlights being too bright? Yes, if they're improper, they can be improper for being too bright or too dim or not functioning at all. So that's a thing. Can I get a ticket for having my seat slanted back? Slanted back? Laid back. If you're too far from the controls, there are charges that can be laid anywhere from careless to some other view obstructed. There's a bunch of stuff because if you're lying down, you can't see the road properly. So absolutely, you can be charged for that. Specific charges, I'd have to look up to give you a list of all the things that I think would be qualified, but careless would be easy. If you can't operate your vehicle because your arms are outstretched, that's careless. Yeah. All right, we got questions from, Dylan's in Peterborough, awesome. Jacob's in Kingston. Stevens in 55 Division. Very cool. Okay. Jake wants to know, what would a scooter classify as? Depends on what you mean by a scooter. Electric kick scooter is a stand-up skateboard type platform with a handlebar and 2 small tires. That's an e-kick scooter. They're prohibited in Toronto but legal in Ontario under a pilot, and they cannot exceed or be capable of exceeding 24 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. If you have one that goes faster than that, it is illegal. Period. Anywhere in the province, it's a motor vehicle. In fact, it's a motorcycle. If you put a seat on it, it's a motorcycle. Would require a license, ownership, insurance, and so on, and it can't actually be licensed for the road, so you just can't use it. Private property only for one that goes faster than 24 kilometers an hour, and if it goes 24 or less, then as long as it doesn't have a seat, it doesn't have a motor more than 500 watts in power, then you can operate it in jurisdictions that permit it, municipalities that permit it. Toronto is not one of them, so you need to find out first. Good morning, Robert, who says that I've got great hair. All right. Is underglow illegal? Ryan wants to know, and the answer is, that depends. You got 10 minutes. Sergeant Campbell's going to join us for 10 minutes, and which is perfect because that means we can do today's dad joke.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, perfect timing. I'm going to sip my tea.
Underglow. Don't forget about underglow.
I won't forget about underglow. I will not jump in directly into the joke. I will answer the underglow. It depends if you're projecting light forward, to the sides, and back. If you're just projecting light to the ground, and it's a ground effect, you're lighting the ground, and that is it, then underglow is really not a problem. If the light is being projected outward, front, back, side to side, there are laws that prohibit that. You could be getting a ticket for improper headlights, improper taillights, all sorts of things. I would avoid it anyway because it's not 1985, and it's no longer really that cool. In a parking lot, go bananas, whatever you want. While you're driving, it's really just not courteous, and it's not as good looking as I used to think it was cool.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. It was, but then we talked about it. Maybe it was the 90s.
I think late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Miami Vice was when?
Oh, I don't know.
I loved Miami Vice.
I'm going to say 80s, late 80s.
Okay. Apparently, and this you weren't here when we were talking about this, but Chase says that Elon Musk has said that after 10,000 secure miles of safe driving, they're going to release an update that will allow full autonomous without the driver having to touch the steering wheel, which would make it a level 4 autonomous vehicle. And I've said that is illegal. That is not permitted unless you are under the pilot project, which only 2 agencies in all of Ontario are currently listed.
Right. So, you know what? Even if your car gets updated and it's legal in other jurisdictions, make sure it's legal here before you do it.
Yeah, don't do it because we will charge you.
Oh, yes.
It's a big problem. An insurance nightmare, in fact.
You know what? If you're not driving, if you take your hands off the wheel and you're not driving, that's dangerous. Even if you think your car's doing it, but if it's not legal here, it's dangerous.
I saw a vehicle yesterday that was driving. This is a completely different topic, but it was an American-plated vehicle, because you said from out of town. It had a donut on. It had dark tinted windows, and it had a license plate from Florida that expired in 2019.
Yeah, I think I'd be having a chat with that driver.
I was off duty. I was on my way home. I didn't. I did make a note of the license plate, though, just saying. Is this your main job, talking on the internet? It's part of my main job. I'm a media relations officer. I speak to mainstream media. We do interviews. We do that sort of thing. But I also spend a lot of time on social media educating people. That's what we're doing here. It's all about education, traffic safety, and such. So, yes, this is a big part of what I do. We are on duty when we do it. We're also off duty when we do it, but we're doing it all the time. And off camera, but on microphone, is Sergeant Murray Campbell. He is a media relations officer as well, assigned to traffic services, but he's also the towing and pound sergeant in charge of that. You're in charge of a whole bunch of things.
Yeah. I got a few things I'm looking after. Construction liaison in the city, liaison with the Ministry of Transportation. Towing and impounding. We tow and impound about 30,000 cars a year.
Only?
Yeah, only about 30,000. So, you know what? Sometimes it doesn't always go as smoothly as you might think. So, I spend my day fixing issues.
Putting out fires like a fireman.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how a cop can be a fireman.
There you go. And you know what? Doing this, we're actually doing it easier and reaching more people by doing this. We used to actually do it in person.
In terms of social media, yeah, you have to picture back in the olden days before the internet. We used to go to trade shows and we would stand there and look and smile. People would walk by, and some would feel comfortable talking to us, and some wouldn't. And it was very, it's different walking up to a uniformed officer out in the wild. Some people are a little bit apprehensive or nervous in some cultures, but this is the safe way of interacting, getting your questions answered. We speak to thousands of people a day. This live stream, on average, sees 10 to 15,000 people a day coming through it. We've had as high as 40,000 people join us on a live. It's amazing. So. Yeah, we're doing it. We just keep on want we want to expand and do more. Maybe we have a whole news network by the end of the year.
Yeah, want to let people know what they can and can't do, what's legal, what's not legal, what's logical and what's not logical when they're out there driving, and stop people from having collisions, so we don't have to be out there responding all the time to help people.
Is it dad joke time?
It's dad joke time, because I've got a few more minutes.
A few more minutes. Okay, January 6th. This is the dad joke. My wife bought me a calendar so I can have a fresh joke every day. Dad, my friend Jordan wears snow pants. I can't even speak. Dad, my friend Jordan wears snow pants at recess. Wow. Why don't the teachers tell her to put her pants on?
Snow pants?
That's really, it's really not good.
You know what, Sean?
The first three were awesome.
My buddy David, he lost his ID the other day. I can only call him Dav now. Sorry, best I got.
Well, no, have you told? Yeah, the ruler joke was good.
The ruler joke.
Yeah, they're only. What is it?
We'll talk about it afterwards. Maybe we'll come back tomorrow. Or no, Monday, and we'll do it.
All right. It was. I can't remember which one it was. It was funny. You had a couple of really good ones. A couple. Can you drive without a hood? Without a hood attached. I like the David joke. That was really good. Can you drive with no hood? We've had discussions on this. Hoods keep pedestrians from getting severely injured in the event of a collision. You get people caught in equipment. It's my understanding that they are required equipment to have a hood on a vehicle. It's my understanding.
I don't know if it is or not.
We're streaming, but we're happy to talk. Would you like to come be on the internet?
Oh, maybe later.
Maybe later. This is not for everybody, as I understand. Let me just plug that out. Okay. So I think they are required. I've had discussions which would suggest they are, but I certainly would not suggest you remove your hood. Again, because that's why open wheels aren't permitted. Safety. In the event that you catch a pedestrian, you catch them into the wheels is dangerous and so on.
I'm not really sure. I'm not sure. You know what? We should have to check with a mechanic to see if that's part of the safety equipment. It has to be attached. If it's there, it has to be attached securely. Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Yes. It's all about a load. Can you have a custom license plate design? Like you paint it yourself? No, you can't modify your license plate. In fact, you can be arrested for modifying your license plate. It's an arrestable offense. When it comes time to modify in any way, shape, or form, you can't do it. You order them the way they come. You place them on the car in the way that is prescribed by regulation, which is basically in the front of the vehicle, in the back of the vehicle, and the back one has to be illuminated. And people then talk about, well, why does it have to be in the front? Well, because it has to. In terms of where on the vehicle, can it be in the center? Can it be off center? These are different questions. It can be off center. So if the vehicle has a mount that's on the right, or you put it in a tow hook adapter, no issue with that. But it has to be on the front, not behind the windshield.
Yes, and it has to be aimed forward. I've seen license plates that have been turned on their side. I've seen license plates that are kind of aimed off to the side, not clearly readable. So, no, have to be able to see it.
I got a question here, which is a good one, from Liam. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because I will make a mistake. But he says, hello from Winnipeg. What is the difference between the Toronto Auxiliary Police Program versus the Winnipeg Police Cadets? I don't know what the Winnipeg Police Cadets are, but I'm assuming they're cadets versus police officers or police auxiliary. Auxiliary is a volunteer program. They're not armed with firearms. They do not have police powers beyond that of a citizen's arrest power. I was an auxiliary in the Toronto program. It's a fantastic volunteer opportunity. If you're looking for a way to give back to the city, to your community, whether it be here or in another jurisdiction, the auxiliary program is a fantastic way to get a taste of policing and give back to your community. So that said, cadets are generally a paid program, a paid position, which is sort of like the unofficial before you become a police officer. Some people become cadets and never become police officers. They get weeded out in a very long interview that lasts during their employment. Some police services in Ontario have gone back to a one-year cadet program as a sort of when people are younger and may not qualify for the police program yet. They do the cadet program, get a taste for it, and so on. So sort of like auxiliary plus.
Yeah, it's a paid position training, and it kind of lets people know what you're all about. Lets you see the job and lets your employer see you. And if you will be suitable to become a police officer.
And it's a really good way of saying that. It is like auxiliary is another unofficial sort of opportunity for you to develop relationships and people get an idea of who you are. One of them is for someone who, like, there are people who are auxiliaries for their entire careers. They may be executives. We've had doctors, lawyers, accountants who become auxiliary officers because they want to give back and they don't want to be police officers. They get to play one on TV essentially. And then, then you have people who are cadets who are really eager to become police officers but may not meet the minimum requirements today. This is a way of starting. So very cool. Thumbs up on that one. This message is, by the way, coming in through Volley app. You can join our Volley app by going to www.trafficcop.ca. It'll take you to my link tree. There's a button that says "Ask me a question" on Volley. That's how you get to this. It lets you send video, voice, or text. And by the way, who am I? My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I am on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. It's what I do Monday to Friday between 10 and 11. You should join us. You should follow us on whatever platform you're watching us on, because then you'll be notified when we go live. But if you've got questions, you can use the Q&A functionality on any of the platforms, especially on TikTok and Instagram. But the chat on all the other platforms work, except on Twitter, which, if you're watching on Twitter, I'm sorry, it doesn't work right now. You should jump onto YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, the TikTok thing, and Instagram. One of those, and then we'll be happy to chat. Of course, or Linktree, or Volley. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here now. Let's go to, is tinted brake lights illegal? And I only chose that one because it's Sergeant Campbell's favorite question.
That would be a hard no. And probably one of the most silliest things I've ever seen done. Why in the world? First of all, if you tint your windows too dark that you can't see out and you're putting yourself in danger. Why would you want to tint your tail lights so everybody else out there that may not be paying attention can't see you slowing down and stopping? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me.
I recently went to the Vaughan Mills Mall, in that area, and I was in a parking lot behind a Jeep. The Jeep had taillights that I could the daylight, I could barely see that they are taillights. Even when they depress the brake, barely see the change. It has to be discernible at 150 meters. And discernible isn't, like, the manufacturers build things to meet the requirements. They don't build them to exceed, because exceeding usually costs more money. They build them to meet. So if you're modifying it to reduce the functionality, you are not legal, because they're already building it to the bare minimum. So just don't do it. These are safety things. And we investigate collisions when people have done this. And guess what? That's a clue. Brake lights not being modified is a clue that you had a hand to play in being rear-ended. Just saying.
And you know what? That clue does get marked down on the collision report. That clue your insurance company will get, and that clue may limit you in the amount of money that you get to repair your car. Or you could have a higher percentage of guilt.
Yeah, because they determine their own evaluation of
not guilt, liability.
Liability. We have MC is back, and by the way, MC is Murray.
MC is Murray?
Murray asks Murray a question. Why do cops want to ban hunting rifles? Well, cops don't want to ban hunting rifles. The current federal government is looking to change laws. We don't have anything to do with that. Let's see here. It's not a police thing. In fact, many police chiefs have come out in the media saying it's not effective.
Right. It's not solving the ongoing problem of illegal guns coming in and handguns coming in.
Right. Because no one's taking I shouldn't say nobody, but hunting rifles are not usually the criminal's choice firearm. But they're making sweeping changes to laws and yeah. But that's, again, not a police decision. It's a politician's decision. Steven says, will traffic services be expanding with the budget increase recently announced? Oh, wouldn't that be cool? We get more stuff?
Yeah, I think the budget increase is to hire more special constables and police officers to be out there.
And we need more police officers here, so if we get more, that would be more.
Right. And I think they're designated for frontline priority response. So that when you have an emergency, we can get there sooner.
That makes sense. Can I have a helicopter?
We tried that once.
Did you you remember the air one?
Yep. We tried that once, and will I say it didn't fly?
It's all right. I need a drum button. I don't have a drum button. I need one. Okay. Steven says, how many tickets are issued annually for tint? I don't know the answer to that one. I will say this, and it sort of follows up a question that was coming through on Volley. And is enforcement often based on the gravity of the offense? So yes and yes. Tint isn't the highest priority. It is a violation. It is something that we write when we see, but we are looking for speeders, aggressive drivers, distracted drivers, and impaired drivers as the priority. We know that those lead to serious injury and death more often than others, so we focus our efforts on the most serious. But if I see it, I'm going to deal with it. If I'm not doing something else, I'll deal with it. Another question from Pluto says, how loud can I play music in my car? It depends. You should not be making everybody on the street listen to your music. If you are, you could be charged with unnecessary noise, and that could be not just your stereo, but honking your horn for no reason, squealing tires, but that's actually stunt driving as well, or having a malfunctioning or modified exhaust. All qualify for that charge. So it's just don't. We don't want to hear your music. Nobody wants to hear your music. And it's going to be subjective as to the officer who's following. Stephen wants to know, is there a geographic data about traffic tickets issued? We know total numbers of tickets, but I don't know, and I'd have to look at a dashboard to see that as to year to date. But there are things that can be found for where issued or tickets are issued. But Stephen, if you message me offline, we can chat more about it. Let's see here. Does OPC require a prep test and PIN test? So you have to be able to pass the physical, the prep test, in order to come into the college, and you have to be able to pass the prep test to get out of the college. And the PIN test is an annual thing. I don't know if those are synonymous with one another, but I don't know if passing the prep is the PIN or not. Let's see here. Many people, and just the PIN test is an annual test that you can do to keep your fitness pin up. It's a good thing to do. I don't do it, but many people do. I don't do it because I'm just not going to pass it right now. Let's see here. Underglow is making a comeback in the import scene. No kidding. I did not know that. What will happen if I'm driving? Oh. What will happen if I'm driving on the highway with, okay, I read driving high, not driving on the highway. So I'm glad that I reread that, so I understand the question. The question is, as a G1 driver, can I drive on the highway with my parents? Only if your parents are licensed driving instructors, not just people who are licensed to drive, but licensed driving instructors, professional driving instructors. Otherwise, you cannot drive on the highway. If you do and you're stopped and you're charged, it's a violation of your condition, which means you would be suspended for 30 days. And on the first conviction, and the second conviction, you would be suspended for 90. On the third, you would be kicked out of the driver's license program, or the graduated license program. Let's see here.
A dad joke my daughter just told me.
Oh, we got John Woodstrah, who's got a dad joke from his daughter. Let's play it.
Why is Santa Claus's little helper so sad? Because he has low self-esteem.
Did you hear that? Let me play it one more time, because that's worthy of. Let me turn up the volume.
A joke my daughter just told me. Why is Santa Claus's little helper so sad? Because he has low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem. I like it. I like it a lot. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing that. Crystal's daughter Brittany is trying to say hello to you, but you haven't read her message. Okay. Hi, Brittany. I don't know. Are you on Instagram? I'll wait till you here then. Hi, Brittany. Thanks for saying hello. Sorry if we didn't see your message. If it didn't come through on Q&A, I would have missed it. So my apologies. Let's see here. Okay. What's another question here? Any tips for a road trip to Winnipeg, from Winnipeg to Toronto? I don't really have any driving directions or tips other than make frequent stops, long drives. You don't want to try and pack that into a straight drive. It's not good for you. You want to get out and stretch and rest on the way. Don't try and do it in one shot. Other than that, make sure your vehicle's in good working order. You don't want to get broken down on the road, especially in weather that could be changing and volatile. Okay. Can I get my G1 test with a visitor visa in Canada? Yes, I believe you can. As a visitor, if you are staying here as a student for any extended period of time, you become a resident, and yes, you could take your G1 test. More information by going to drivetest.ca, though. They are the people in the control position of those licenses. Okay. What do we have here? And confirmation from Jace and Chase that say hoods are in fact required because, let's see here. Insecure damage deteriorated in a manner that is likely to. Oh, that's if it's become attached. And Jay says they are required. We'll still look into it more, but thank you for the input from. See, our viewers, our listeners are awesome people who are they're involved. This is a show about you, and you're part of it. Because if you don't ask questions, if you don't contribute, then it's just me, talking about stuff. You know what I want to talk about? I have to derail for a second. I got a request earlier for stats on how many pedestrians have been struck in the city of Toronto since the new year. Guess how many? Throw it into the comments. Guess how many? I'm gonna jump out of the Q&A. Just throw some numbers up. I'm curious to see what you think. How many pedestrians hit this year? And it doesn't mean that Emma says 15. RK says 78. Dylan Wong says 35. Let's see here. 12, 20, 12, 120, 120. That'd be something, wouldn't it? 3 to 4 from, we have a 20, 42. Well, 20 is the closest. It's actually, 20, 32 and 20. How do I stop this person from continuously asking to join our live? Someone says 200. So, and Derek says 30. So the actual number is 26, which I was shocked to hear. And that includes everything from someone who had a minor contact, no injury, no nothing, and all the way we have had a fatal already. So where one pedestrian was killed by a car and that vehicle took off, and that's now a failed to remain collision that's under investigation. So that's a lot of people that have been struck. It goes to the whole discussion as to why we talk about traffic safety here on Ask a Traffic Cop and in general as the police service. It's because it matters. People are getting hurt out there because drivers are doing dangerous things, and sometimes pedestrians are doing dangerous things, and cyclists and so on. We all have a role to play in our own safety. I'll put the mic back up for Sergeant Campbell, who is back. But we were discussing the fact that 26 pedestrians have been struck in the city of Toronto since the 1st. And it's just a huge number, in my opinion.
It is a huge number. And you know what? Every one of those people, lives have now been changed because of something that somebody did that wasn't right. And like you said, it could be a driver. Everybody plays an equal and just as important role in it, including the pedestrians. So,
and that's not to say the pedestrian is equally at fault when they get hit by a car that's breaking the law and doing something dangerous, because some things you just can't plan for. But there are ways to reduce your chances of becoming involved in a collision. That, head on a swivel looking both ways is not a joke. You want to anticipate what a driver is about to do as much as a driver needs to have their head on a swivel looking for a pedestrian, especially in, the fatality took place at 5:10 p.m. Inclement weather, it was raining, so visibility is reduced, and then you have darker. The light it's getting darker earlier, so you have a number of conditions. I don't know the details of the driver. I don't know the details of the driver didn't stop there, failed to remain, but we don't know the details. At least I don't about whether or not there was adequate lighting in the area. If we don't know enough, but. Anything you could do, like wearing reflective clothing or bright colored clothing. These are things to increase your chances of being seen by a driver. And that's not to exonerate the driver. The driver still needs to be responsible and not hit people. But anything you can do. It's like buying a lottery ticket. The more tickets you buy, the more chances you get. That's it.
Everything helps, Sean. Everything helps. And we're talking about tint, and I ran away because I was actually going to try and find the numbers. Somebody's working on it right now to let us know how many tinted window tickets we've. But it just goes to say that we don't know what the driver was doing. We don't know if the driver saw this pedestrian. We don't know what happened. Could that play a part? Yes. If you tint your windows, does it play a part? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Along with everything else that's happening. Raining, lighting, dark, everything. So
everything matters. Everything plays a part. Someone says 26 in 6 days. Actually 26 in 5 days, because technically, unless there was something from midnight till now, in terms of being a pedestrian struck, that would be in the first 5 days.
It's disappointing.
It
really is.
I expect better. And we're a Vision Zero city. We want zero fatalities, but we want zero injuries. We want to get to the point. And maybe it's not realistic, but we're going to try anyway. If you don't have a goal of zero, you're not shooting for the right goal.
You know what? Be so safe that you put me out of a job.
Yeah, that's right. I'd be okay well, that's why I said, people said, why are you out there, hammering the public with tickets? If no one breaks the law, we have no reason to get out there and change behavior because they're doing the right thing. Maybe what we need is full autonomous everything. So people take the driving out, because then the computers, they won't make mistakes. Computers don't make mistakes. I'm just waiting for Terminator, it's just like, danger, danger.
I'm sorry, Hal.
Yeah.
All right. I do have to jump off.
You have to go?
I do have a meeting.
Well, it's been magical having you.
If Brent comes back with some numbers, that is what it's for.
Okay,
For
I appreciate
numbers
it.
of tickets that we wrote this year or last year for window tint.
I am very curious. I can't imagine that it's very big because we're so focused on the behavior, the driving behavior. But tint is one of those off things. So I'm curious to see what it is. We will talk about it when we know about it. Thanks, Sarge. Okay, back to whoa.
Okay. Thank you.
So big or small?
Here, I'll hand it to you. Look at this.
Really? That's actually more than I would have thought. So there was a mix of warnings and charges, but approximately 1,800 tint charges were dealt with.
That's awesome.
That is more than I expected. I am proud to use that number. I'd still think it could be more because I think every other vehicle has illegal tint. But 1,800 tint charges. There you go. You heard it here. And I gotta focus. Let's see here. More questions to discuss. We've got just under 20 minutes, so let's get into some more stuff. Thoughts? Should dash cams be mandatory for safety? Not for safety. They don't make you safer. They record vital information to either, exonerate you if somebody else is at fault. It is the independent capture of evidence that is fantastic. We need that kind of stuff because it used to be back in the day when I was growing up that if there was a collision, everyone stopped. The witnesses stayed. Now people put it on YouTube and they move on. They really, there seems to be a lack of community when it comes to hanging around because everyone's got places to go. So when witnesses aren't forthcoming, it is very helpful to have independent evidence. That evidence could hurt you, but it's good to have independent evidence because sometimes it wasn't my fault. He hit me. Then you look at the video and lots of things were not in their favor. Okay. Weirdest, most unique car you've pulled over? Mariah, I don't know. Weirdest. I don't know. I do not remember. I pulled over all sorts of different cars from junkers to supercars, but I don't remember. I do remember speaking to a gentleman who I don't remember if I pulled him over if he was just asking for directions, but there was a gentleman with a fully carbon. This is what it was. It was a carbon Lotus, and he had been rear-ended, and he was so upset because it's basically a unibody carbon thing. So it's like half the car had to be replaced based on a minor fender bender. And not a good thing. Not a good thing. Is it tomato or tomato? If I read it, is it tomato or tomato? It's tomato or tomato. I think it's tomato. And that's a very serious question. Are the new license plates in Ontario white? Yes, they've reverted to the original white. The blue is gone, and they're terrible. The blue ones are terrible. I got a tint ticket in BC with Ontario plates, 20% tint. Okay? I don't know what the rules are in BC, but obviously, now if you mean 20% like blockage or 20% pass-through, because the numbers matter. In Ontario, to be registered in Ontario and pass a safety, you can have no more than 30%, which means 70% of the light has to get through. Unfortunately, giving me a percentage number doesn't really paint a picture as to which side of the spectrum we're talking about for block or pass-through. So let me know, because I want to know. Let's see here. Have I ever given a ticket to a red plate before? Many people don't know what the red plate is. That's a diplomatic plate, and I've never stopped a diplomatic car that I can think of. I've seen lots of them. I don't think I've ever stopped one. And Chase says, most cars are 20% light blockage from factory because it's not perfectly clear. Is that right? I've never tested. I shouldn't say I've never tested, but I've not really played with testing of. We don't have tint meters. I've played with them briefly for the purposes of science, but we don't have them. We don't use them. They're not required. Why don't you guys enforce loud exhaust laws? Guess what? We do. We do. It's one of those things. Excessive noise is something I'm actually very interested in. But we do lay those charges. I don't have stats for it. We're not going to get them now, but we do lay the charge. Improper muffler, lack of muffler, all sorts of charges in that wheelhouse. And we also have gone out on a regular basis with the City of Toronto bylaw officers to work on stopping motorcycles and checking what their idle is, because in Toronto there's a bylaw in addition to the HTA that prevents or that prohibits motorcycles from emitting more than 92 decibels of sound at idle, and it's a $500 fine. So that's a thing. Let me quickly check and see what's going on to... how is enforcement going against stretch tires? Stretch tires are horrible. They are unsafe. We'll pull the vehicle off the road for stretch tires. That's a pull your license plate. What is this? Oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Well, I may have to come back later. Okay, how is enforcement? We talked about that. Oh, Demolition Men. Richard's talking about. Great movie. Okay. Quickly catching up. Are smoked headlights illegal? No, they're not. You cannot interfere with your headlights. You can't put a film or a cover. Okay, I think we're up to date there. All right. Otay. Stephen says there was a shooting in London, Ontario. There was probably 5 shootings. No, there's shootings everywhere, unfortunately. There's a lot of illegal guns, a lot of gun violence, and that's unfortunate. Is it hard to become a police officer in Ontario? It's hard to become a police officer anywhere. There's a lot of testing and competition involved, but if it's something you want to do, you can work to beat those and meet those requirements. You can do it. You can do it. Check out www.tps.ca/careers for information on the requirements for becoming a police officer. It is something that is. It was harder, I would say, before. There seem to be fewer applicants recently because it's not everyone's cup of tea to become a police officer, but if you are interested in working a life of service, it really is a life of service. You miss a lot of birthdays and family functions because you're working, but it's one of the most rewarding decisions I've ever made. Probably next to becoming a dad and becoming a husband. But this is my dream job. Not being on TikTok, but it's been my dream job to be a police officer from as long as I can remember. And if it's something that you want to do, it's a calling. If you want to do it, you got to do it. You got to do it. Steven says, I have no questions for you. I'm sorry. You'd be great. You'd have lots of good questions. Okay. I have a 6-inch lift kit on my truck. Is it legal? Chances are no. 3 inches, I believe, is the maximum lift you can do. I don't know if that's for body or body and suspension, but you wouldn't be able to get safetied with a 6-inch lift kit, to my understanding. And if that kit was permitted, I think it has to be OEM compliant, and there's a whole bunch of issues, and that is a different pay grade. I'm not a specialist in off-road or lifted vehicles, but I would phone a friend if I was pulling you over and had concerns. Okay. Let's do. I check my blood sugar levels on my cell phone. Really? How do you check your blood sugar levels on your cell phone? But that you still can't use that while you're driving, if that's the question. Mark wants to know. And I assume you're going towards, can you do it? To check your blood sugar levels, like if you're doing it with a Bluetooth remote monitor, you got to pull over and park legally to touch your phone. There's no exemption. What do we have here? 10 minutes to go. Am I losing my voice? It's not good. Okay. What's everyone doing for FriYAY? Like, this is FriYAY, but FriYAY, we're talking about early FriYAY and late Friday. What kind of stuff is going on in your life? Is it party time? Is it something that is just another day for you? Are you working tomorrow? Let me know. Question from Keenan says, have you ever pulled over a mechanic or service plated vehicle? Absolutely, I have. I've seen plates that should not be in operation. I've actually stopped people with unsafe vehicles cruising the town in a service plated vehicle, and they had improper headlights and all sorts of things going on. And guess what? They didn't have permission to drive the customer car downtown on a party night. That involved a whole bunch of things happening, and a very unhappy person whose vehicle was towed. Akela Dracona says, I check my blood sugar too. I use a Dexcom G6, which allows wireless connection. I split screen and display it while using Waze. Really? I need to talk to you about that. That's very interesting. I'm interested in this technology. It's fancy. So it's just constantly monitoring and it's split screens. I really want to know more. Okay. How do you ticket international drivers suspend? So if you're an international driver, we won't take your license away, but we will suspend you in Ontario. And what will happen is you will be suspended here. If you drive here, you will be charged for driving under suspension. When you go home, you may or may not have that suspension affect you, but you will be suspended here. Big Jeff has to work tomorrow and Sunday. Wow. Okay. Right on. The real McDunn just followed me on Twitter. That's awesome. Okay. Going to watch Connor Bedard and the Regina Pats beat the Seattle Thunderbirds tonight after their gold win yesterday. Jace is going to be watching. Yeah, so that's been some stuff and things going on in sports. Very cool. I know nothing about sports. I openly admit it. But I heard it on the radio. Okay. Is a bolt-on performance muffler legal? Now, are we talking about on a motorcycle? Or are we talking about, excuse me, are we talking about in a car for a catback system? Bolt-on. Tell me more. I assume you're talking about motorcycles because I can't imagine a bolt-on for a car, but I'm not a mechanic. If the performance muffler is legal and complies with regulations, then it's probably legal. If it's loud and obnoxious, it's probably not legal. But I couldn't tell you and give you a blanket answer. I just couldn't. Two people, Jace and Richard, are preparing messages. All right. We have, is smell of marijuana probable cause in London, Ontario? Probable cause for what? This is a question. Are you talking about in relation to driving? Or are you talking about what? Let's talk about it. And London, marijuana you're talking about drugs, so it's going to be not just London that it deals with. All right, what is this? Oh, okay. Jay says many bolt-on exhaust for cars. Bolt-on just implies that there's no welding to be done to install it. Okay, so it could be an automobile that we're discussing there. Okay, let's see here. Can you eat while you're driving? Yeah, it's not illegal to consume food while you're driving, but if it interferes with your ability to safely operate your motor vehicle, that's a problem. You could be charged with careless driving. What do we have here? I have a Vietnamese driver's license. Can I drive here? Generally speaking, if you are visiting is the key, then yes. If you are moving here, if you live here, you're a resident, and then it's no. And you have a certain period of time before you are obligated to apply for an Ontario driver's license. So if you don't apply for one, then we would no longer honor your because you're not a visitor, you're a resident. So it depends on your status in Ontario. But most, if not all, driver's licenses from other countries are honored. Not all, but most. So you can check with the Ministry of Transportation to confirm the list. I would assume yours is, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Now I want to know. Let's see. Exchange. You might require an international driving permit from your home country if the license is not in English. We knew that. Okay. I think you'd be okay as a visitor if you have the IDP. But in terms of exchange, that's a different situation. And there's a short list of countries. So United States, Australia, Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Ireland, Japan, South Korea, New Zealand, Switzerland, Taiwan, and the UK will give you a trade license without testing of any kind, from my understanding. So there you go. But that your country is not listed there, so you may have other requirements, whether it be having to do the entire licensing process or having to do some accelerated process, or just testing with accelerated is testing without wait times. There's all sorts of different options that they can do to make your life a little easier. And Kayla, send me an email. We could jump on. Let's see here. What can special constables do? They can do a lot of stuff. Special constables have expanded authority beyond that of a civilian while they're at work, and they can be sworn in to do different things and perform different job functions. They can make arrests. They can deal with sensitive materials in terms of data, a bunch of different stuff. But it depends on what their purpose is, what their functionality is, because they can have different powers based on how they're sworn. And passengers show me phone, charge, text, and drive. Yeah, it's actually not text and drive. It's screen visible to driver. Someone can't show you the Instagram. Someone can't show you the screen of a like if they're holding the phone and texting for you, you're still effectively breaking the rules because you're looking at their cell phone. Can't do it. So that's a valid charge. There's 3 charges essentially in that area. There is drive handheld communication device, drive handheld entertainment device, or screen visible to driver. Any of those 3 work. They're almost interchangeable. It's wording, same section essentially. What do we have here? Okay. Are your chargers tuned? Like, do they go fast? Yeah, they go fast. Are they tuned like race tuned? Depends on what tuned is. They are 8-cylinder, go fast cars. What is this? Oh, okay. Now I see. Oh, okay. Crystal's daughter Brittany said hello and nice to meet you. Well, nice to meet you too. What is the max inches you can go with a tire? At a certain point, when you get large tires, A, they have to match the wheel, and B, they have to be able to be inside the wheel well and make no contact with the body or frame, and that includes during lock-to-lock turns. But hey, Ryan Pinn just jumped in from YouTube. What's going on? Ryan Pinn's a driving instructor out in Nova Scotia. I was just watching there was a Nova Scotia move to Nova Scotia ad. So I was thinking of you yesterday when I was watching YouTube. What do we have here? We got all sorts of stuff I'm reading really quickly. What's changing with the 2023 police funding? I don't know. Evan wants to know, and I don't have an answer. But Sergeant Campbell was saying it's primarily to hire more police officers because we're understaffed. We really are. We have people retiring, and we don't have people who are coming in at the same volume. We had a period of time we weren't hiring, and now we're hiring more. Okay, I got to take this question because it's my favorite question. That's probably going to be the last question. We'll see. And thanks to Gary for the message that he just sent. What would happen if you were caught driving G1? I think you mean driving alone, unaccompanied by a qualified G driver, which means that the driver has to have had at least 4 years experience, that the clock starts at G2, and they have the 4 dots on their driver's license. Don't just do the math on your own and think you're okay as a qualified G. It may not be the case. You have to be accompanied by a qualified G. If you're not licensed to drive. You have a condition on your license that you must be supervised. I got it, Akila. And if you don't have that supervising driver, you are in violation, so you're going to get a charge, $110 fine. You're going to be charged for that offense of G1 drive unaccompanied. You're going to get a 30-day suspension for your first conviction, a 90-day for your second, and on your third, you get kicked out of the program. Additionally, whomever lent you their car knowing you were a G1 driver, you are going to get them a ticket because they're responsible for enabling you to break your condition. Additionally, if you didn't have their permission, you'd be charged criminally for take vehicle without consent, assuming it wasn't just a stolen car, it was just taking mom or dad's car without permission. You have no insurance. They would deny a claim if you were in a collision. They would deny a claim to repair the vehicle based on the fact that you weren't a licensed driver who was supposed to be driving that car in the first place. So it's not a good idea. So don't do it. Tip of the day. Okay. I said it was the last one. It is 11 o'clock. There's lots of stuff to do on a Friday before we shut down for the weekend. So I am going to say we're done. We're going to be back on Monday, though, 10 a.m. We'll do it all again. So if your question wasn't answered, I do apologize. We try and get through as many people as possible, and it actually never works. We have way more questions than we have time to answer. But tell you what, join our volley by going to www.trafficcop.ca, and you can go to the button on my link tree that says Ask Me a Question on Volley. We'll keep the conversation going. And a lot of the people who have been here, well, they're in there. And you can keep the conversation going all the time because it's fun. Now, what are we saying just to respond to? Any advice for what features should be in a good dash cam and what features to avoid, such as videos? Okay. So, I said we're going, and then I keep talking. But it's a good question, so I want to get it in here. Akela wants to know if there's any good advice. I cannot endorse a particular product. I can tell you that the 2 dash cams that I own from 2 different companies, both of them are high-end. Neither of them have screens. Both of them have Wi-Fi, so that I can connect my phone to them to download content if I need to. Both of them have live uplink, like if you were, they would connect to your phone to automatically send it to the cloud. That's a feature. These are high-end ones. You know what? Any dash camera is better than no dash camera. I prefer ones that don't have a light-up screen. I don't think you should have a distraction. And if you do mount them, don't mount them in the path of your vision. Mount them behind your mirror so you can't actually see the screen. That's a waste of time anyway. So behind the rear view mirrors so they don't obstruct your view, because you can end up getting a ticket for having a dash camera on your dashboard, or on your screen, I should say, windshield, that's obstructing your view. So don't do that. You don't want that. What is this? And Ryan Pinn is looking forward to securely attaching any snow that he manages to trap on his car so he doesn't get charged for insecure load. Fantastic idea. I leave you with my favorite song. It is the Toronto Police traffic song. It was written and performed by a police officer from our CIB. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might
We'll be off in a
go to
second.
jail and not get freed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
I love that song. I would be remiss if I did not say, be safe this weekend, drive sober, and park legally. All those things, you'll have no problems. But if you do decide to break the law, know that police are watching, because we're trying to make the road safer for everybody. So have a magical weekend, and we'll see you back Monday, 10 a.m. for another episode of Ask a Traffic Cop, where we make life better for everybody. Have a good one.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.